Let's meet our panellists and DWEN members. Amanda Rose. Amanda Rose is the founder of Cec Businesses. She's Australia's foremost strategic connector, workplace trainer, business consultant, and a passionate keynote speaker. You've probably read her weekly Boss Lady Careers column in the Daily Telegraph, and she is the founder and publisher of Business Women Media. She's also the founding director of Western Sydney Women and Western Sydney Executive Women. She's the managing director of Western Sydney Advisory and the founder and CEO of Small Business Women Australia. Welcome, Amanda.
Thank you.
Now, next up we have Narelle in the middle. Narelle Anderson is the founder and managing director of Envirobank Recycling, an accomplished business leader and Indigenous mentor and speaker. Narelle is a Yuggera woman who grew a waste management business, CBD Enviro Services, 20-fold before selling it to a public company. Now, Narelle then set her sights on rewarding Australia's recyclers and founded Envirobank in 2008. She's a board member of the Australian Council of Recycling, the Green Building Council of Australia, and the New South Wales Indigenous Chamber of Commerce. Welcome, Narelle.
Thank you.
Now, last but certainly not least, we have Anaita Sarkar. Anaita is the co-founder of Hero Packaging and the former founder of Olivia & Co. and a guest lecturer at Macquarie University. Anita and her husband Vic co-founded Hero Packaging, an online home compostable packaging company operating globally, and she has sold over 15 million compostable mailers to over 40,000 businesses. Anita published her book, Sell Anything Online, in 2021 and has since built a TikTok audience of more than 290,000 followers. And that's all with her marketing videos. So welcome, Anita.
Thank you.
Now, we're going to get into the chit-chat now, ladies. So what I would like to start with is I would really like to hear about that first spark, that moment of passion. What really ignited your passions? And Amanda, I would like to start with you since we're in Western Sydney.
Yes, we are.
And I would like to know, what is it about Western Sydney that you find so special?
Well, besides the fact that I've come from Western Sydney, the thing is, I think Western Sydney, the people of Western Sydney have grit. They are passionate, they're hardworking, they're underestimated time and time again, and they're also mocked and belittled a lot of times too. And I wanted to change that, especially for women and for girls, because that was a really big, bugbear of mine growing up. Oh, you're a Westie, or oh, well, gee, that's you live so far away, or everything had a negative connotation. I thought, how can we turn that around? Where when you said you're from Western Sydney, people are like, oh, you're from Western Sydney, like the future of New South Wales, pretty much where all the talent is. So I wanted to change that. So that's why I created Western Sydney Women.
Yes, there's a lot of bias, isn't there? Unconscious
there is.
bias and
there's a lot of deliberate
bias.
Elitism is thriving, let me tell you. But the only way to change it is not to change their attitudes, but to change ours about ourselves, and to give girls and women resources, mentoring, connections, the confidence to be able to proudly say where they're from, but to have the opportunities given to them that they never had. So I created Western Sydney Women because I wanted girls and women to have financial literacy, financial confidence, and confidence in general, to be able to pick and choose what they wanted in life, but then to have the resources, the access, and the opportunities to be able to do that.
So you just mentioned proudly, being able to go proudly out there and say who you are and what you do. You're a proud boss lady, aren't you?
I am, absolutely am. And can I tell you a story about that? So I was made fun of by a few gentlemen online when I mentioned being a boss or something. Oh, you think you're a boss lady? And they just went on and on and on. I went, okay then. So I started using the hashtag boss lady every post that I made after that as a, stick it to them. And then I thought, hang on a minute, we all should do it. So then I just created, and I want every single woman to be proud of being a boss of something, whether it's their own life, a business, whatever it is.
Now, Narelle, if you wouldn't mind, we'll go along to you. You come from a long line of change makers. Your great uncle was the late Senator Neville Bonner. He was the first Aboriginal Australian to become a Member of Parliament. Now, he was also Australian of the Year, so you've got this pedigree of pretty impressive people in your background. So how did that impact you as an entrepreneur, and did that have any kind of seed of what you were going to do in the future, the spark that ignited what you were going to do?
I think something that my uncle and I have in common is resilience. And really, my journey as an entrepreneur started long before my career in waste management. I left home at a very young age. I left home when I was 16, and I actually got my first job when I was 14 and 9 months. I didn't finish school, and I have got ahead and gone ahead in life just because I've had this unbelievable self-belief that I can do whatever it is that I put my mind to. When I was living at home, I'm quite a good networker, so I was a rallier of the street kids, and my very first business was a kissing business.
Still going?
And this is really a case of fake it till you make it, because I had zero experience in kissing, I can tell you. But I was holding kissing classes, and the children in the street had to bring along their pillow. I would do a demonstration, and then I would critique everybody. And I charged an entry fee for doing that. So I can tell you that all the kids in that street now, I'm sure that they're exceptional kissers, at least from the demonstrations that I saw. So that was my first business, and then I started a promotional company called terrible name, Mega Magnetic Promotions. Awful name. I can tell you the logo was even more awful. It was one of those, what did they call them back then? The little line drawings. Anyway. And then from there I just went and worked with corporates, and again just really have always had a belief that I can do whatever. And I by accident landed in the recycling space, but you know, sometimes in life you go along and do different things, and then you find that one thing that's your passion. And obviously culturally, as an Aboriginal person, you know, our whole charter is care for country, and really that's what the recycling and environmental space is about. It's about caring for country. But one thing that I like to do with Envirobank and the other company that I had is I'm now a boss lady, and so with that comes an opportunity to employ people and therefore give other, you know, young Aboriginal people and or non-Aboriginal people that perhaps don't have the education and opportunity to get ahead in life. And really all you need to do is turn up, stand up and have a crack, and you can actually be and do whatever it is that you want.
So you mentioned, you know, that love of country, it's kind of integral to who you are. But so how did you take that initial gem of an idea and then take it to Envirobank? Well,
I think owning your own business is really tough. So you have to find something that you are innately passionate about. That's sort of the first step. And it just, you know, sort of rings true for me, you know, the impact of what we do on the planet. And just so happens that I'm in that space and I'm able to make that impact. And I'm also the kind of person that, you know, can see a problem and then, you know, just wants to get out and get it fixed. And we did, when I started in the industry, there was a lot of problem with contaminated recycling, and, you know, I just sort of sat around the table and thought, how can we make an impact? And one of the ways to do that was to incentivize people for doing the right things. So I built a rewards platform around that we now call Crunch, and that's about rewarding and incentivizing people for doing the right thing. We especially focus on the container deposit legislation, so bottles and cans, and it's just grown from there.
Now, Anita, you're also in the Enviro space, but that wasn't your first business, was it? And you also come from a family where there was a family business, small business was part of your life growing up. How did that impact when you first decided to start your own business?
I think so. My mum, who's here, she's a doctor, and 7 years after we came from India to Australia, she started her own medical practice, her own GP surgery, and I think at that time I didn't really see her as a business owner. I saw her as she took the traditional Indian path of being a doctor, but what it did spark in me was the concept that she was in charge. She made the decisions of her practice, and what's amazing is that my dad has always been her receptionist, and to this day it's that way. So I never actually thought, okay, well, I need to be less, or I don't have to be ambitious, or I can't make decisions. And so that kind of sparked something in me where I thought, yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to be, then they're so happy. I want to be that way. In terms of actually starting a business, it actually took a long time and many years of trying all these different career paths and realizing I was really unhappy, and then realizing actually maybe working for myself is the right thing to do.
Yeah, your CV is quite a roller coaster ride through a bunch of different careers. I think the accounting would probably come in handy.
It does, and it doesn't at the same time, because I came out of school and I thought I've got to do something that's that good Indian girl. It's got to be medicine, it's got to be law, it's got to be accounting, it's got to be one of those ones. It's got to have prestige. And I wanted to make my parents happy and proud, and that's the way I thought it was going to be. Actually, that kind of spurred on this a flow on of events that it led me from there, and I realized, I'm unhappy in the work that I'm doing there, and I don't think this is possible anymore. And so I changed into media, and I thought maybe it's the work. I tried that and it didn't work, and I tried my hand at marketing and the people were nice and that didn't make me happy. And so then I thought, I think it's something to do with working for someone else. And when I was pregnant with my second kid, I said, you know what, now's the time. I'm just going to give it a go. And I started my business, and suddenly the amount of satisfaction and happiness that I got, even though I was making one order every few weeks, that amount of happiness I had never felt before.
So let's talk a little bit about that first business, Olivia & Co, because kind of in a way it dovetails what you've moved on to now, because that's was monogram, personalised leather goods, and now you're obviously, I guess you saw a problem when you were doing that business that needed to be solved, and that's why you've come up with Hero Packaging.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm actually the opposite of Narelle in that she has been in this environmental space for such a long time. And what happened to me is that I had a business, and I was packaging up orders, and it was almost a selfish way of just going, I'm going to scale this business and do it in any way that I want. And so I was buying, satchels from the post office, and they were plastic, and I was packaging my orders, and there was just a day where I just saw a pile of them sitting there, and they were all in plastic, and inside it was wrapped in bubble wrap too. And I think it was just that really sickening realization just in that one day where I thought, this is not right. And so that's when I went home. I quickly rang my husband. I was like, I've got a business idea. I think we can solve this. That was the start of a 9-month process of research into starting Hero Packaging.
So we've talked a little bit about that genesis, where the idea came from. Now I'd like to touch a little bit on the challenges, because we did some research last year with Dell and DWEN, and it was independent research with more than 350 business leaders to find out what issues women entrepreneurs are facing and thinking about. And from the findings of that, the Way We Are Australian Women in Business report, 41% of women entrepreneurs said a lack of confidence is their number one career barrier. And 90% of female leaders think that women face biases that men don't. Now, I think I'll throw this one to you first, Amanda Rose. How does your experience track with that? Do you and have you faced a lot of biases in your time coming up as a women entrepreneur in Western Sydney?
Just keep adding to it. Being a woman, Western Sydney, working class. And then add to it for Western Sydney, if you're a migrant, it's even harder for them. So Look, I have faced a lot. I had the blessing of coming from a family, working class family that, you know, tradie father and brothers, that if I faced anything, they were just like, you know, pat him on the head, sweetheart, and move along. Like, don't let it get to you. So I got I was ignored a lot, you know, blocked from opportunities, not taken seriously. It was just, it's endless. And it still happens. But I just don't care, and I think that's how you have to feel. You cannot get angry about it in the sense of I'm going to fight you head on, because there are, you know, more than one ways to skin a cat. There are other doors to open. There are other things you can do. Other people will work with you. So those that block you and the bias and all that, they're there and they stand out like a sore thumb. Then you go, you know what? This person's not like that. This person's not like that. I'm going to go and deal with them. I'm going to work with them. And let me tell you, the really smart men in particular, right? Well, women are just, look, they're smart anyway. But the really smart men, you know, they're out there. The thing is, they see you as a business person, not as a woman, not from Western Sydney. They say you're a business person. What is your skill set? What are you good at? What do you can do here, here, and here? And then we work together. And that's how it should be. And when it comes to Western Sydney, you know, with all the infrastructure happening, all the community engagement, there's opportunities everywhere. So you're actually shooting yourself in the foot if you don't work with a woman from Western Sydney.
Now, Anita, can I ask you as well? They say you can't be what you can't see, but you had a great role model with your mum as someone who was very strong and great at business and had a leading career. How do you think that has impacted your entrepreneurial journey, and have you still faced biases along the way?
To be honest with you, I haven't felt the same amount of bias from other people that I put on myself. I actually do put myself in a lot of these, and I've found, and recently I've actually started to discover this more, that I put myself into this gender bucket where, I've got kids now, I can't work as hard as, or I'm too busy to achieve as much as that guy who doesn't have kids, or his partner is looking after the kids. And I put myself in there, and I find that I'm doing it to myself as opposed to other people. Of course, there are those small things that come up, you know, when someone goes, oh, I love that little small hobby you've got, or that little business.
That cute?
Yeah, isn't that cute?
What
I've had that hundreds of times. Those are those little things which kind of put you off at the beginning, you know, and now it doesn't affect me as much. I think I've heard it so many times. But to be honest with you, I think I've always just been motivated by strong women. It's only the three of us in Australia, but I have been motivated a lot by that. And it's not just in business. It's just about, I love the thought of I can make my own decisions. I can make my own money. You know, we come from Western Sydney too, and our first apartment was down the road, and I love that. I think I appreciate that because it's opened my eyes to other people's states. And we don't come from a place of privilege, and I have it now, but I feel like I can see what other people's challenges are. And so it gives me that level of empathy as well in business to understand where other people are coming from.
Now, they say that a third of Australian businesses are run by migrants. So I'm wondering, someone who comes from a migrant background, did you feel there were more challenges or advantages or any differences for you when you were trying to start your business?
Of course. I mean, you know, I'll tell you a story about when I was working for my mum at her surgery. I was her receptionist when I was in school. I used to get phone calls all the time of people driving by her surgery saying, hey, just saw there's a new doctor's practice there. Can you tell me about the doctor? Is it male, female, or what nationality? And I would say, female doctor, Indian. Oh, no, thank you. You know, no, thank you. And the number of times I've had that, I used to also check her voicemails, and her voicemail is, hey, you've reached the doctor and I can't be here right now. And one of the voicemails I still remember was, oh, listen to that Indian accent. I can't understand anything you're saying. Hang up the phone. So those are the challenges that she faced. And she's the one with the challenges. But for me, I think right now I've got this really cool grasp of, okay, I taught myself an Australian accent. And so I don't have, I've actually really tried to move away from that whole being Indian thing. And do you know what? I actually love being Indian now. For a long time I didn't, and I saw how people treated her. All I know is this, right? That when people first judge us as migrants or as people of colour, it could be one thing, but when they stepped into my mum's practice and surgery, I can't even look at her because I'll start crying. That when they stepped into her room and walked out, they were happy. They loved it. So that first perception is the challenge. And then after that, we know we can retain them. And that's the same thing here as well. As I sometimes don't, my first thought is not always in English. I know that sometimes it's really hard as my perception will be something different. But if people talk to me and they build a relationship with me, I know that I can retain them as friends, as colleagues, as customers. So I think it's a challenge at first, but it's actually a privilege to be a migrant.
And you also mentioned you started your first business when you were pregnant, and you've gone on and started other businesses. You've got 3 kids now. There's always a lot of talk about, women can't have it all, but maybe it's just different bits at different times, or yes, we can, I don't know. How has being a mum and who is a mum in business, how has that challenged you as an entrepreneur?
Time management is the first thing, and I think it's that the first thing that happened to me was that thinking, okay, I'm pregnant, so maybe I'll start a business. Let me see how that goes. And it worked, and it really actually did okay. And I was able to change my success metric from I want to be an accountant or a senior manager or a partner at a firm to I want to be able to spend time with my kids and make money as well. And now it's 3-prong. It's I want to spend time with my kids, I want to make money, and I want to help the world. Because my success metrics have changed, I get to enjoy that more. And so when people talk about their career and they think, oh, Sunday night's come, I've got Monday, I don't have that thought anymore. And that feels really good to me because I actually genuinely love working. And I remember when I was in the hospital and I just had my 3rd cesarean, and everyone was like gushing over this baby, and so was I. But I also had my laptop and I was writing my book and I was doing work, but it wasn't work. I genuinely love what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, so you know the difference between Sunday night and Monday, do you? It just blends for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, Narelle, while we were talking about bias with Amanda Rose and Anita, I imagine as an Indigenous founder, you've probably faced some bias yourself in your time. Would you like to dive into that for us?
Yeah, sure. So firstly, my mother is Aboriginal. My great uncle, as you mentioned before, was the late Senator Neville Bonner. My father is not Aboriginal. And so I have this, milky skin. So the bias that I often get when I talk to people that are non-Indigenous, because I never have to explain myself, to our people, but to others, it's like, oh, you're not Aboriginal. Like what? Like 1/10 of you? You're Swedish. Look at you. And only after, as Anita said, only after people start to listen and hear you talk do they go, yeah, now we see it. So there's that. Obviously, being a woman in the waste and recycling industry over the years has been challenging, although I'm absolutely delighted to see so many other women in this environmental space now. It's a space that is full of women, and as women, we are carers, and that's what this planet of ours needs more than ever, is people that are invested in caring for country and, making sure that we have a livable planet in the future, for our children and for the next generations. I have just always had a great belief in myself and that I can do whatever it is that I set my mind to. And so I've never really let other people's opinions matter too much. I've just always kind of, watched this space. And I guess the first time that I recognised that was in 4th class when our teacher told us that we had to do a poem. And it was an Australian poem. And I said, yeah, okay, I'm going to do The Man from Snowy River. And she said, you're not going to do that because it's too long. You're going to have to choose something else. And so I said, all right, I'm going to do My Country by Dorothea McKellar. She said, still a long poem, but okay. So I remember standing in front of the class and doing My Country, I Love a Sunburnt Country. And then I finished the poem and I looked at the teacher and said, and now for my second poem. was movement at the station for the word had passed around. The cough from old regret had got away. And I remember my best friends in primary school were twins, and I remember them looking at me like, their poem was like 4 sentences, and they were looking at me like, what is she doing? And then I sat down, and that was the first time that I thought, how does she know what I can do? She's got no idea what I can do. I was a child that literally walked through the house reading a book, and I had a passion for poetry. And from that moment on, I really just thought, I'm never going to let anybody tell me what I can and can't do. And that has really been the theme of my life since then. And really, that's what I like to spend my time doing now, particularly talking to other people that perhaps haven't been to university and maybe, don't come from privileged backgrounds, or maybe have struggled. English is their second language. Whatever the bias that is out there, you have the power to change that. You just have to have the belief in yourself and forget about the tickets that people put on.
Yeah.
I actually just think that you created that meme, tell me not to do something, I'll do it twice and take photos, because that's that story. It came from you. Okay.
I think, kudos to you for that kind of confidence. I don't know that many kids that would be able to stand up and be as ballsy to do that. But the other thing is, because of that, I mean, what do you think other women face? There's a lot of people that really want to get started or want to do something but kind of lack the confidence to be able to take that first step. How do we help them realise, yeah, you can do it, you've got what it takes?
Well, I think that's really about finding your tribe and coming along to events like this and listening to other people's stories and then connecting, with other women in business. I think generally, I think it was Margaret Albright that said there's a special place in hell for women that don't help other women.
That's why hell's pretty full.
And I think, when I heard that, I thought, really, that's true. We have a responsibility to each other to share, to share our knowledge. Again, culturally, that's a great passion of mine. But to share our knowledge, and in that knowledge, to share our experiences. And I'm in my 50s, so when I was at school, we didn't have Instagram and Facebook, and thank goodness, because there's some things that maybe happened then that I'd love to forget about now. That's you do those things now and they're plastered on the wall, but there's an unrealistic expectation that everybody's life is this beautiful, created, curated. We look like this all the time, we look like that all the time. I think just being real with each other and owning up to, what, actually there's a lot of times that I've really got no idea what I'm doing, and having the ability to be vulnerable and to share that space with other women. And sometimes all you need is a glass of wine and a hug from your bestie, and you can, put on your big girl pants and get back out there, right? Other times you might need some counselling. I've, had a bit of both, and sometimes all together. But it's really got to start with you. You really just have to believe that you can, and you can.
So then let's talk about mentors then. What kind of role do mentors play in this journey?
Oh, mentoring.
Yes, let's go with you.
Just a little bit on the confidence thing. I want women to know that if you don't feel confident in something, don't blame yourself for it, right? Don't blame yourself for lacking confidence, because I guarantee you, if you write down a list on a piece of paper of all the times someone has done something to you, said something to you, treated you poorly in a relationship, treated you poorly at work, it's chipped away at your confidence, and that's why you're where you're at, right? So you just need to put them in a vault that has a furnace and pretend they're gone for good. And then go and find people like mentors that are going to help you. And that's where confidence will boost, when you find the right people. And I think mentoring, there's structured mentoring programs. We run them at Western Sydney Women, at Small Business Women Australia, and they're great. But then I like the casual mentoring. So being here now, listening to advice, something is going to gravitate towards you. Take it, apply it, test it, see if it works, and also ask. I think we're not asking enough as women. We need to straight up say, how did you do that? Not, I want to copy you and extract from you. More like, how did you handle a difficult staff member? How did you grow your business, you know, and participate in events and so forth. But a mentor will help your confidence. And don't limit yourself to just having female mentors as a female business owner. Have male mentors. Have people older than you and have people potentially younger than you that have got a skill set in an area that you may be weak in.
Yeah, because that's what it's about, really, filling those knowledge gaps and
well, you're only
the
strong as your
skills
weakest
gaps.
link, right? And your whole system, your whole business, everything can crash because of that weak link that you decided, I don't want to deal with it. It's too hard, right? And we've all been there. No, you deal with it and you go and do your research. You even pay for advice. Don't assume you just need mentors, but pay for people and get advice. But pull it all together and believe in your abilities to be able to do it. You might not be the best at it right now, but if you believe in your ability to be able to learn and apply, then do that.
Have either of you had mentors or business coaches that have helped?
I have never had an official mentor. Of course, there are people in my life who are mentors for me, but I actually really like what you said, Amanda, about casual mentors. I never had the term for it, but even just now, I mean, Narelle's words aren't just words. So she said she helps people and she connects people. And I had a maybe 15-minute chat with her earlier. And in that time, she found out what I did and she connected me with a number of people that she knew could help me. I mean, that is, if that's not a mentor, I don't know what is. I think that was just incredible. So I think, yeah, absolutely believing in yourself. And I just have that same sentiment of, if you don't surround yourself with the right people, you know, you're not going to succeed, because we've all been in a situation with someone who maybe doesn't really believe in you. Of course, that's going to be there. Also toxic people. If you can get rid of them, or if you can push them to the sidelines and really not listen to them and just focus on that core group of people who are really there to push you forward, I think, you know, that for me, that's a really good mentor. But I think keeping your mind open as well for any mentorship opportunities and anyone who can come into your life at any given point in time and help you in a way that you didn't expect.
Anything from you, Narelle?
I have had very structured mentors. So I've been part of various mentoring programs over the years, some very successful, others not. I'm quite a structured, organised person, so I like the structure. I've also been mentored through some business networks that I've been in, so really about having the conversations and meeting other women, because it doesn't always have to be, and other men, doesn't always have to be, you know, a program as such. You can sit and have a conversation with somebody and get those and get the nuggets that you need. I now invest and I consider it to be an investment for me, invest part of my time in sharing my knowledge and mentoring others, but not in the traditional sense of, you know, let's meet on Tuesday afternoon at 4 o'clock, because I really don't have the time for that. But if you picked up the phone and called me and, you know, asked me to help you with something, you know, I would happily give my time. So that's how I casually mentor. I'm going to use that now. That's that's a thing now.
Trademark.
Already taken.
And I think it is, we all have knowledge and we all have lived experience, and we all have things to learn, and we all have things to teach. And, you know, there's that old saying that, you know, the teacher appears when the student is ready. And in this platform this evening, and for those that are listening online, something that somebody says here will resonate with you, and you will take that nugget of knowledge and take the next step, and really that's what mentoring is as well.
Mm-hmm. So they often say that you can learn as much from your failures as you can from your successes.
More, maybe.
Now, I might start with you, Amanda. I'm not suggesting you have any failures, but you have 6 businesses.
Does marriage count?
6 businesses is a lot of businesses. I'm
Yeah.
sure you've had some bumps on the road along the way.
Yes.
What can you tell us you've learnt from them?
See, what's interesting is I never, and I was thinking this the other day, I was driving along, something wasn't working, right? Something I did wasn't working, and I don't see it as a failure. I just see it, that just doesn't work. I just need to change it. So I had my very first business. I was doing graphic design and marketing for sole traders. I come from a tradie family. I really wanted to help them. I was so passionate about it. It didn't take long before I realised there's no money in it. And I thought I need to do it as a passion project instead, so I'd help on the side. But I didn't see that, okay, that failed. I just thought, okay, this model didn't work in business, so how can I turn what I want to do for people into a different package, offering to different people in different ways, and structure it differently, right? So I don't see things as, oh, wow, it's a monumental failure. It's like, well, that just didn't work. So I still like the idea of it, or I get rid of it altogether. And I think changing that mindset, then you don't get depressed over something that didn't work. You just say, well, this didn't work that way, and then I need to find out. And it's also testing. I don't think we give ourselves enough time to test something. We're not expected to know something straight away. Test the model, test the idea, put a time frame, 3 months, see how it goes, tweak it, and if it works, roll it out larger, you know? So I think that whole fail, and the term fail fast, well, you don't know you're failing as you're doing it, right? So how about we don't say that? How about we say, test it, see how you go. If it's not working, tweak it, change it, and then do what you need to do to make it work.
That's really sound advice. Now, what about community and networking? We're at a great networking event today. How pivotal, can I talk? How pivotal has networking been in your journey?
When I first started out in my business, I realised I needed to meet people, right? And this is going to shock everyone, but I'm actually shy. Okay, so when I was young, shut up. When I was young, I was shy, and my mum pushed me into everything to get used to it. And then I realised, you know what, everyone else has nerves, and you know, and they just want to get to know you. So when you have that mentality of people just want to meet people and learn, you can have fun with it. But then I became a strategic connector. I made up this term. And I thought, because I was sick of the networking turning up, hey, how are you? Hey, how are you? Hey, without any purpose to it. I thought, why am I here?
Well, it's like the go have a coffee. Should we have a coffee? It's like,
yeah.
What's the reason?
Well, deposit money in my bank account first, and you can have lunch for all I can. But the point here, what is the purpose? So why am I going to this event? Who do I want to meet? What do I want to learn? How is this going to help my business growth? And you need to be strategic about everything you do. And I thought connecting was one of them, because connecting isn't just this event. It's, okay, we're now on LinkedIn. I might follow what you do for 2 years. I might then see an opportunity. Hey, let's partner, or you sponsor an event, or I'd like to work with you 2-3 years later. So you've got to be very smart about why you're meeting people and how you're doing it. But it has literally built, in the last 15 years, it has built a huge foundation. And I put a lot of hours into that and loved every minute, because I'm learning so much about people. But all of that has helped me that right now, when I come up with a new idea, much to the pain of my team of what's she doing now, I'd be like, oh, I've got this idea. And I will literally just make 5 emails to people that I know, and it's up and running within a week. You know, and it's only because I've done 15, 20, maybe longer years of connecting. So it is very vital. And if you hate doing it, grab a buddy, take someone with you, and meet someone new when you're there, and just realize that everyone is there for the same reason as you, you know.
Anita, I'd like to think of your TikTok following as connecting in a really major way. So can you tell me, how did that all begin? Why did you decide to take your marketing tips online?
Because I needed a way to sell my book. And I wrote the book, and I realized after 500 copies had landed on my doorstep that I had no way of selling it, because I hadn't created a website or any marketing or anything. And so I thought, I'm really embarrassed to tell my friends and family that I've written a book. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a TikTok account where no one is, because I just thought it's a bunch of 16-year-olds to 20-year-olds who may want to do some marketing. And I started my TikTok account, and all I said to myself was, the advice out there is to create 4 videos a day and be consistent, and then answer all the comments and make sure that you're really putting a lot of value into it and not expecting anything back. And that was my only thing. And I think it's the same thing with networking. And you know, when I did that, the audience just started to grow by tens of thousands every month. And I realized that I was doing something different that other people weren't, and that is brands going to a platform thinking they can sell a product only. Going with like, hey, here's my shampoo, please buy it from me, as opposed to, hey, these are your problems, I'm facing them, let's talk through them and let's add some value. And that's what I did with the digital marketing book.
That's fantastic.
Warning, the fire alarm system has operated. Stand by for further instructions.
Emergency.
Bet you didn't risk your cess for this.
We should be safe. It's raining outside.
No, it is from the
fire
rain.
alarm system has operated. Stand by for further instructions.
It means check your
Everyone
phones.
panic, run, the door's that way.
Should we go?
Warning, the fire alarm system has operated.
Oh,
There we go.
well, thank you for that interlude.
That was the bathroom break. We forgot to let you know.
If I can redirect back to Narelle after you've had a sip of your water.
Sorry.
What is the biggest learning you think you've made about yourself in this leadership journey you've been on?
Well, I agree with the sentiment. I don't think about failure either. I call them lessons, and I add a value to everyone. And so throughout my business career, when things have happened that haven't...
Attention all guests, attention all guests. We are currently investigating the situation. Please wait for further instructions. I repeat, attention all guests, attention all guests. We are currently investigating the situation. Please wait for further instructions.
Thank you.
Continue.
So I add a value to them, and then so some are very expensive lessons that you pay a lot of attention to make sure you don't make those same ones again, and those are the ones that I like to share. You know, for goodness sake, don't do this. This is what it costs me. Here's another way that might work for you. And again, it really just goes back to life is a roller coaster. It goes up, it goes down, it goes around. Sometimes it's fun, and sometimes it's insert the F-bomb terrifying, right? That's the journey, that's the process, and business is like that too. Sometimes it's amazing even when you're doing it, with your passion, and sometimes it's not, and sometimes it goes up and sometimes it goes down. So really just understanding that it's all a process, and make sure that you enjoy the ride along the way. And I guess I understand that it's a ride and a process, and so I don't get so wrapped up in it. And I think it's difficult too these days with social media, depending on what your business is, because sometimes people can be really awful. So you've worked your guts out and you've launched a new product, and then, it turned up 60 seconds late, or, the packaging wasn't right, or was a different color or whatever, and people just can be awful. And sometimes that can be soul destroying if you've put your heart and soul into something and people haven't seen the value. And so the way that I have even dealt with that, because trolls is not something that, I had to deal with when I started my business. That was just the mean girl on the school playground that you got to leave there at the end of the day, right? Now they kind of follow you
Wait
around.
for her outside.
But again, really making sure that you've got your, that you've got your steel jacket on, and just understand that those people don't know the first thing about you, and it's important what your family thinks of you and what you think of you, and leave the rest at the door.
And they probably have their own issues going on. And more issues than you do, more failures or learnings than you do.
Just
right?
embrace the block button.
The nastier they are, the more issues that they generally seem to have. There's some really clever marketers out there that do some really fun stuff with trolls on social.
Yeah.
I get a lot of trolls after TV, and especially on Twitter, and I used to reply with just condescending gifs all the time, like the they're there, so much so they would then complain to the network and tag them saying, your guest is sending me condescending gifs on a regular basis. I'm like, let's screenshot what you said first, buddy.
Yeah.
That's glorious.
I know.
So again, that's about, loving yourself and really not taking on other people's baggage. You don't need to pick up that baggage. Leave it where it is, and just move on past it.
Since we're in a kind of advice-y mode, what kind of advice or this to all three of you, would you give our audience here watching today and our people watching from home about identifying what their superpower is and how they can be boss ladies?
Identifying your superpower. Okay, so think about what you absolutely loved doing when you were younger. So what did you spend a lot of your time doing? What is it that your family will say that you're really good at? Go back to the roots of who you are and what you're passionate about. Because I think we get lost with the world and what everyone else is doing, and we want to be that. Oh no, they're so successful, I want to do a business like that. But do you really? So go back to find out, what do I love doing? What am I naturally gifted at? And your parents and your family will often tell you what that is. And then say, right, where's the gap in the market of where I can make the most benefit with that? And start small. So one by one is how things get done. Don't expect to grow quickly. Don't expect to be, an overnight success. Plan it out, test it, do things like that. But don't try and copy others. Go with what works for you and what you love. So when I started Western Sydney Women, for example, and every business I started was because I cracked the shits with someone, right? It's because someone annoyed me or there was a disadvantage for women. So I created Western Sydney Women because they were ignored and no one thought anything like that would succeed. Small Business Women Australia, I got annoyed that women were being ignored in lockdowns with advocacy. So I started that. So that's my method of, kind of like wanting to defend or give a voice to the voiceless. But with women in general, don't try and be everyone else. Learn from others, but pick what you love doing. Find that passion, find that moment where you go, why is this happening? I feel disgusted by this. I need to change it and do something about that, and it's not that hard. So hard work, yes, but don't think, I can't do it. Don't think, I'm not a businesswoman. I don't know how to do this. Seriously, I built everything from scratch, working class family, had no idea about anything, and I managed to do it. So if I can do it, anyone can do it.
I mentioned before, I'm a very organised person. I have a Trello board that has my life mapped out in 5-year intervals till I'm 98. So I can tell you exactly how my life is going to end up and all of the things that I will achieve along the way. And it started, as I said, back in that classroom when I was in year 4. So I'm a believer in design your own life. What is it that you want? And the world that we live in now, you can be anything, you can do anything, you can achieve anything. You really need to know what it is, because if you don't know where you're going, you're never going to get there, right? So take the time to investigate, try different things. I tried running a kissing class. Running a marketing company. Clip art was what I was trying to think of. Now that everybody has Canva.
I think you need to bring back that kissing class, by the way.
I feel like it's called something else now. But anyway.
Married at first sight.
And I'm in the recycling space, and that's where my passion is now. There's something else coming down the line. But play. I agree with you. We get so serious when we get older and we forget to play and we forget to have fun and we think that we're meant to, that everything's meant to be painful.
Find your joy.
Find your joy. My business one of my investors has a saying, he's an older gentleman, and he has a saying, we're here for a good time, not for a long time. We're here for a good time, not for a long time. I think that's a great saying. So just make sure you're having a good time.
I would say, to answer your question about finding your superpower, I think everyone here kind of knows their strengths, right? Everyone understands what they are, and they've probably been honing them for years. I think something that you could probably identify more of is what your weaknesses are. I think if you can identify that, it actually makes you stronger as a person. One, you can fix them and you can work towards that and learn more and do that, or you can just recognize it, and it actually helps you to be a leader. It helps you in business. It helps you with your friends. It helps you to understand you and your own psychology and why you get affected by certain things. So if I'm talking about, you know, that superpower, it's that I know what I'm really good at. I think actually everyone knows what they're pretty good at, but it's the weakness side of things, which I think if you can identify that, you're winning.
I'd like to maybe throw it over to the room now to see if they've got any questions for you.
Let's see if they were listening.
If you've got a question, if you just want to pop your hand up. Mia is down the back. I think she's got a mic. Yes? No? No.
You can yell.
You can yell really loudly. Anyone have a question? Excellent.
Just a general question for most of you here. How did you overcome the naysayers or the haters?
They're glorious, right? You get a lot of them. So I've been laughed at to my face at functions. I've been mocked. All these things happen, and it doesn't happen as much now, more because I somehow create fear in people. But because I do screenshot abuse online and put it on my Instagram and leave their name on it. So it's kind of a bit of a warning. But essentially, it's the blinkers. So my mum taught me that, honey, put your blinkers on, stay focused on what you need to get done and what you need to do, and forget everyone else. Don't worry about what they're saying. Blinkers all the time. And sometimes we're guilty of looking for it. We go looking and we reach out to things, or we see what other people are doing, and then they see what you're doing, then they comment on what you're doing. Well, who cares? You know, who wasn't made the comment about not caring about what other people think? It is the most glorious feeling. And I'm asked all the time, how do you not care about what other people think? And I'm like, well, they're not paying my bills. And they're not my clients. You know, customers and clients are different because you want to engage with them. And like you said, you retain them. But in general, how are you helping me? So really, it's boundaries for yourself. Just ignore them. Use the block function. Use the mute function. Cut them out of your life completely if you need to. But stay focused on your journey, because if you start to ask, why did they say that and why did they do this, you send yourself crazy trying to work it out. So just go, nah, you're dead to me now, move on.
What if the toxic people are actually in your life, not online?
I'll get rid of them. I just, boom, overnight, you're dead to me. I don't want to speak to you anymore. I've had situations, I've known people for a very, very long time, and actually I didn't realise that they were commenting and being negative and actually trying to bring me down in my business. And I just went, and block. That's it. Don't hear from them again. And if I see them in the street, I'm polite, but why have you in my life? So, because you know what? You need to remove the toxic to fill it with the nice person. So the more people I'm removing from my life, the more room I have for the people that I have in my life now.
You know, if you think of yourself as a source of power, what works for me is that I just don't give away my power. So I'm not going to allow you into my space and give you the opportunity to take away some of my power with a sarcastic remark or a negative comment. I just don't let you in. The other thing that works for me is I'm a very values-based person. And so for me, if our values are not aligned, and it's very easy to see if people's values are aligned with who they are, you can hear it in a conversation. If somebody says their core value is being respectful, but then you hear them trashing somebody in the corridor, that's not a person that has respect as their core value, or honesty, and you hear them. So, you know, if you know what your core values are and those are your guiding principles, then listen for those in conversation. And it doesn't mean that, you know, you might not go to dinner with this person, it just means that they're not going to be in your inner circle. And just remember, I say this a lot, that there are some people in life that if you gave them a check for $10 million, they would say, you should have given me 20. There are just some people that will just never be happy with whatever, and that's not on you, and that's not your responsibility. We're just responsible for us and how we conduct ourselves.
I would say my one sentence, I think Robert Downey Jr. said this, and he said, you just smile, nod, agree, and then do whatever the F you were going to do in the first place. And honestly, like I love my parents, but they really were about, doing the job and doing the accounting and stuff. And when I said I'm quitting this and I'm quitting that and I'm quitting this, and a lot of people were like, what are you doing? All my friends work in banking, for example. And so they were like, what are you doing? You're going to start from scratch. You're going to start a business? Like, what is this hobby? And I was like, just watch me, because I'm going to do it. Like, I know what you're saying, and I truly appreciate what you're saying, but I'm just going to do whatever I want. And I just smiled and I was like, I agree with you, but I'm still going to do my own thing, And people have their own lives. They love to give advice and all that sort of stuff, and they love to say stuff, but actually it's your life. You do what you want with it.
Right.
Yeah.
I have quite a few questions online, so I might get to a few of them. Question from guest 751.
What number?
Hi everyone, I would love to know a good first step for embracing more inclusivity and diversity in my business. Obviously, an acknowledgement of country is wonderful, but are there some other ways to really move the needle on this in a small business way?
I think the first thing is really wanting to do that. And one of the things that I say to people, particularly if you're starting a meeting and doing an acknowledgement to country, and people do the research of whose country they're on to make sure that they are acknowledging the right country. But if you really care about diversity and inclusivity, what does the acknowledgement to country mean? Find out something about an Indigenous person that is from that country. Tell a story when you do welcome to country. If it's if it's migrant people that you're wanting to include, then find somebody that you can tell a story about to make the connection. Because we're going to get to the nirvana when we stop thinking about you're Aboriginal, you're migrant, you're a woman, you've got a mental illness. When we start looking at who we are as human beings, and when we stop with all the badges and the tags and the labels and start sharing our lived experience, because whatever the culture you are, there are challenges, from all of those cultures. So it's just about understanding.
Emergency.
Need a less terrifying way to make those sounds.
It's you.
God.
You're just setting these things up. Can I make a comment on the diversity piece and inclusive? I always have this saying that if you're inclusive in who you are as a person, diversity comes naturally, right? And I think if you have an approachable business and an approachable person and a welcoming feel, then you'll open up doors, and then everyone will want to be a part of it, and then other people refer. And like you said, you don't want to be, I don't like labels and all that type of thing.
Attention all guests. This is a false alarm.
Oh, well, there you go.
I repeat, this is a false alarm, and there is no cause of concern. We apologise for any inconvenience, and thank you for your attention.
Now, if we were in our offices, when the first buzzer went off, everybody would be out on the street and at the coffee shop.
Absolutely. That's exactly what we'd be doing. We knew secretly, because we had inside information, that this was happening, and that's why we remained here. But yeah, so with inclusivity, if you are naturally by nature like that, people will actually come to you, and your culture, your organisation will be like that. So I think, but then in saying that, we also need to go out. I personally make an effort to make sure that people know that they're welcome. So it's kind of going out to groups and communities to say, we want you to be a part of this. We want you to be involved and tell us stories. Stories are very powerful, and stories unite people. So for the Western Sydney women in particular, it's like, you're a woman, it doesn't matter where you're from, and we have in one room 50 different cultures, and they're all connecting similar stories, similar issues. I'm like, that's right, let's share that. And that just happens by default, and that's a beautiful thing when it does happen.
But it does come back to the human, finding the human.
Well, put it this way, if you're an arsehole, you're going to struggle with it, right? Because, you've got to be a good person. So if you want to work somewhere that's inclusive, meet the boss. I always say, no matter, even if I partner with an organisation,
I want to meet the boss. I want to know who it is before I partner with them, because the fish rots from the head down. And if they're good, everything else will be good. And if they're bad, you don't want anything to do with it.
Here's a practical example. I had a gentleman that worked for me who was a Muslim gentleman, and his faith was very important to him. And I was having a conversation with him one day, and I said, tell me about your religion and your faith. And he told me about Ramadan was coming up and how they celebrate, and, you know, I'm Catholic. And so I said to him, well, you should take all of your religious holidays as public holidays, because they're your special days. And then you could work on the other public holidays. Do you want to do a trade? And because nobody wants to work, most people don't want to work on Christmas, but Christmas was not a special day for him. And he worked for me for many years, and, you know, he always had those special days off as his special public holidays, above, you know, his sick leave and all those other things that you're entitled to. And that was, you know, out of respect for his culture and really understanding, you know, what religious days were important to him. So you can always just ask and find out what's important to people. What is their cultural background? What is their faith? What is, you know, what is important to them? We give everybody their birthday off. That's, as far as I'm concerned, that's a public holiday. That's the day that you need to celebrate the day.
You should end the day after for a hangover.
Yeah. So it's just having the conversations and finding out what works for the people that you're with, and be a good person.
And respect. Comes down to respect as well, I think.
I have nothing further to add. They've said everything that I agree with.
All righty. Is there anyone else from the... Oh, we have many questions. I've got the hand up at the back first, and then I'll come to you.
Is that me?
Yes, that's you.
I'm just thinking about when you started building your team and you had your first person come on board. I'm just wondering what were the thoughts that were going through your head, and perhaps any lessons that you learned and things you might do differently.
Oh shit. I've got a staff member, and I've got to make sure they've got money, and I've got money coming in for them, and the business has got to succeed because this is their livelihood, and they're relying on me for money, and they're a young mum, and this and this, and this is what goes through my head, because I take it seriously. And it's not like, yeah, we'll give it a go type thing. It's like, this is someone's life. They're choosing to work with you, and you're funding their life. And it's like, so my tip is to always have, I see a lot of businesses fail in that area. They run out of money, right? No matter how much budgeting they do. So I always say, be a year ahead. Always have money a year ahead for your entire team. So if something happens and you lock down or disaster strikes, you've got a year to work it out, right? And usually only takes a few months to work things out. But also bring someone else in to speak to that person. So you might interview someone, if you don't have a HR team, and there's someone that works with you or that you trust, ask them to interview as well. They come from a very different angle, and because you'll have your needs and, you know, what you want. And for me, I'm very bam, 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 bam. I like that. Can you do this? Then I'll get someone else to come in to cover other things. And they can say, oh, did you notice this? Did you notice that they're good at this or strength? And it helps. It's like a team. It's like creating your own little team, because you can't do everything on your own. But yeah, for me, it's a massive responsibility taking on more and more people, especially because I hire women and I want them to have financial independence. And so even when I talk about salary, and I'll say, should you not negotiate that? Or this is your negotiation skills. And often I want to give them more money in my head, and they'll say, I want this, and I'm like, maybe go up a bit. And then one girl in particular went like this, and I went, and come back down. But it's also that. So you're kind of mentoring at the same time and being a business. It's like so many things you're thinking of, but I take it very seriously. But it's be ahead if you can.
I would say that don't expect them to have the exact same drive that you have. So when I first hired for my first business, my first staff member,
I thought, well, she's not getting it done at the same pace that I am. She's not doing it to the same ability as I am. And I was just not a great leader. I had no idea what I was doing. You cannot expect that from somebody. They are working for you. They're working for your dream. And you can never find someone who's going to be able to do the things to that level of, perfection that you can. And it's your job to actually get them there. It's your job. Yep. It's not their responsibility. It's yours to actually get them to that place. What you need to hire for is cultural fit, someone you like, someone that likes you, and skills can come later.
Yes,
I reckon you can teach them skills like that if they're a fast learner, but I truly believe you hire for the cultural fit. They've got the same passion as you, with the same purpose as you, and just realize they're never going to have that same drive as you in your own business. And if they can get something done to that 80% level that you can, that's great.
90%.
Well, if you hire for the right cultural fit and the right values connect, then all of those skill things, because whatever is happening in your business has to be taught anyway, right? That's right. So as long as you have the cultural fit and the values fit, then that's the right person. And you can hear that in a 5-minute conversation. We also give people, little tests, but I just remember one of the very first girls that I interviewed. I met her at a coffee shop across the road from my house, and I said to her, so tell me a little bit about yourself. And she said, well, I've been working for my husband. I've got 3 boys. He has a carpeting business, been running the 3 boys. I haven't really been in the workplace for a long time. And then she proceeded to tell me all the different things that she was doing with the boys. And then I said, I'll see you tomorrow. And she was like, what, I got the job? And I was like, yeah, babe, if you can do all of those things, you can totally do what I need you to do. I'll see you tomorrow at 8 o'clock. So, it's again about making...
That's the difference between women and men, right? So a woman just has to tell me I'm going through a divorce. I'm like, girl, I got you. Right, let's go, right? It's just like, I'll fund it.
You can totally, you've got this.
Yeah. We have another question from the audience just here.
What is your goal you'd like to achieve in the next 5 years?
Because you've got the
cello board. Let's just pull that out.
I've got the cello board. In the next 5 years, I would probably sell the business that I have now. I have a new business in the wings that I'm working on, which is actually an Indigenous food business and an economic empowerment business. It's called the Tucker Box.
Oh, I like that.
I have an 11-year-old, so I'm taking some things out of my diary at the moment because I'm rostering myself on for tuck shop duty. So yeah, that's what I'm doing in the next 5 years, renovating a house. But the Tucker Box project is a passion for me. So I left home very early, as I said, and didn't finish school. And so I thought, how can I use the knowledge that I have now to set up other Aboriginal people in business? So I decided that I'd start a food truck business. So this is another example of you don't know what you don't. First of all, it's not easy to start a food truck business, okay? There's all sorts of things that you need to register in anyway. But I have a collaboration with another Aboriginal person, Arnie Beryl, who's a well-known Aboriginal chef, who's going to do the food for us. And the Tucker Box is actually an economic empowerment project in that it will be run by somebody who will use it as a business, another Aboriginal person, set a financial goal, achieve that goal, and then pass the Tucker Box on. People will be able to pay for their Indigenous foods with bottles and cans. So it's also about feeding community without having money. Most of the time in business, you hate it when people copy you. But this is a project that I hope goes viral, and I hope that everybody decides to do a Tucker Box in their area. That's what I'm doing in the next 5 years.
Except for the laws around the pesky food trucks.
You'll need to write a guide.
I need to, yes. My husband's like, what? This was a COVID project because, I couldn't travel anymore, so I had spare time. So it launches in NAIDOC week. Look out for it. It's called the Tucker Box Project.
That's awesome.
Your 5-year plan?
Is it okay to say that I don't have one? Because, you know, I am the opposite to that. I don't have that goal setting and I don't have that plan in place. I do have, like I was talking about before, I do have my success metrics, which are that my kids are happy and I get to spend my 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. with them. I'll work around that. But those 4 hours, my husband and I will be with them and they should be happy. And also just making sure that whatever business I start, if I start more, which obviously we're entrepreneurs, we will always start more, but there will always be not any more of a selfish business, which was, I think, my first one. I think from now on, I want to give back more. So I don't have specific goals. I just know that if I was to start a business, I want to give back more. I know that my kids need to be happy and I need to have money coming in the door. And that's it. That's my 5-year goal. That's my 40-year goal. Yeah.
I'm going to give some love to the live stream again. There's another question, which is, the mentoring idea is interesting to me, but where would I go to find one for myself and my business? That sounds like a question for you.
Oh, okay. Right. So first thing is always look for structured programs that are available first thing, right? So there are a lot of free programs out there. There's also ones you can pay for. Have a look at them. Don't just sign up blindly. Research, find other people that participated. Like anything, do your research, ask questions and find out. But also reach out to people you admire and say, I'm looking for a mentor, and always think of the other person, how they would see it, right? So you contact someone and said, hi, my name's Amanda. I really admire what you do. I'm starting out a business in this particular area. I'm interested in being mentored. Is that something you would consider, or someone you know? I won't take too much of your time. I'm just looking for a 10-minute phone chat and maybe see how we go. Straight away, the other person's like, sweet, it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, it's not too long. Let's see how we go. If they click, the person will say, you know what, sure, why don't we do a coffee in a month type thing. You've got to make it as easy as possible for the other person to mentor you. You've got to do everything. I remember I flew to Melbourne because I wanted to meet this gentleman on a board for his advice. And while I was there, I then lined up other meetings and made the most of it. But I always said, make the effort to go to them. And also check out the Boosting Female Founders initiative with the federal government. So I'm a mentor for that, and I get to experience amazing entrepreneurial women with that and connect them and so forth. But that is a free program. So there are out there. Don't hide from it. Don't think, oh, it's not for me. Apply, but straight up ask people. And don't be vague. Don't be, I'd like some help. Say a specific need that you would like, or a 10-minute chat. I can work around your schedule. You know, don't say, oh, I'd like a mentor. Here's my link, book in the time. It's the opposite, you know, but people will, if you make it easy for them. And you could have 5 different people that you speak to over the year, and that's all you need.
I have one final question here from Olivia. Sorry, I'm going to really butcher your name. Wijaja, perhaps. Thank you so much for the talk. It was super inspiring to listen to your stories. She sounds like a love. I wanted to ask if you've ever been treated as the token woman of colour, and if so, how did you handle that sort of treatment?
How's her last name spelled?
Wijaya?
Where is it?
Up here.
Olivia, hello. I know her. A mentee of one of my programs, and going to be a mentor of another program of mine. Okay, can I answer about this tokenistic thing? Because it happens a lot to myself and to the girls and women that we have in our programs. It happens all the time, right? And I even get asked, do you have an Indigenous person, Amanda? Do you have a migrant woman, Amanda? Do you have a refugee, Amanda? And I'm like, well, yeah, I can pull one out. You know, just get into the box and pull one out for you. No, I don't. How about a woman? What's the skill set you're looking for? What type of, personality? That type of thing, not about who they are. But the tokenistic thing does happen. It's a reality. And I say make the most of it. So I have literally been asked myself, we need a female on the board. You know, we need a Sheila on the board. Can you be our token? Can you be our token woman on the board? I've literally been asked that. Absolutely I can.
Yeah.
I'm going to come in like a Trojan horse mother, and I'm going to bring in another woman. I'm going to be nice for 6 months and start knocking you all off out of these board roles and bring in women to replace, which is my style, right? So I say take it, make the most of it, don't be offended by it, and if anything, if you are kind in return and strategic in return, not only educating that person about who you are, they'll feel shame for how they treated you, right? But also you could be an example to another girl and bring her along with you. You know, build up the numbers in that room so you're not alone anymore.
There was one last question out on the audience. Who was it?
Actually, it was the previous question was a really good segue for mine. I am actually looking for a mentor, and I'm going to be brave enough to stand up and say, can I please approach one of you?
No. All of us.
Exactly. All of you. I would love that opportunity, and I know it's a bit selfish. It's all about me.
No.
I would be really honoured if I could perhaps do that. So.
Well, I just told you how, so up to you now.
We'll be waiting at the back of the room for you to approach us. Yeah.
All right, thank you. That's all that we have time for. I mean, we could probably talk about this all night. I think I would probably like to approach these ladies for mentorship myself. They're so awesome. Now, there's time left for us to all have a little bit of a drink and a chat. And don't forget to join DWEN, the Dell Women's Entrepreneur Network, which you can find at dwen.com. And also subscribe to Kochie's businessbuilders.com.au, which is our awesome website where you can get all of the business news and stories and success stories of fabulous businesses, and listen to some podcasts, review them as well. There's lots of great content there for you. Now, there will also be updates for us on our next Building Brave business panel, and that will take place very, very soon. So do make sure to check in on the site and subscribe to our newsletter as well. Thank you so much. And a quick round of applause for our awesome panel. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Can I just do a quick plug? So I know that the ladies have put the how to join, but I am a DWEN member, and I have been to a number of their international conferences, and there are a lot of different networking groups, but I can tell you first, and this is a free plug, I wasn't asked to do this, but I think credit where credit's due. That is an exceptional networking organisation. So if you are, wanting to make connections and find other casual mentors, which we know is now a thing, that is an exceptional organisation. So scan that QR code and go along to one of their events. Hopefully you weren't disappointed tonight, but
I'm sure there was no disappointment in this room, except for that alarm. That was very annoying. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining me. I'm Cec Busby. Good evening.